Hey guys, we've noticed that some of you have been watching so much of our content and we really appreciate it. But we also see that some of you have not subscribed yet. And we just want to let you know that it's free to subscribe. It's free to watch the content that we have. You can watch it at YouTube. You can watch it on Spotify. You can watch it on TikTok. But the place to be is YouTube. Go subscribe, click the bell, let us know you're there, and get ready for the next one. Thank you all. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscripted podcast. We have Sam Starling here, and I am super excited to dive in. So let's get into it. First, tell me about yourself. Tell me about Subiaco. Is that correct?
Subiaco.
Subiaco. Thank you. I butchered it.
Subiaco. Subiaco is actually the name of the area that I was born in. And it's quite convenient because living in the US, no one has this as a business name. So it's very easily registered and all those sorts of things. The problem is that it is the name of a location. And that means that getting the social handles for it are an absolute nightmare because Meta and so on and so forth prevent you from having a location name as like a handle. So you can't really have Subiaco much of anything. So that was a whole thing that I found out after the fact. But it also, the other problem, of course, I have is that every American mispronounces it, but I can live with that.
Yeah, right. Subiaco, so I will not mispronounce it next time. That's fantastic. And so, place where you live, so where are you from?
I'm originally from Western Australia, so the far side of Australia. If you drill a hole through the planet from New York, where I live now, you actually come out just off the coast of where my dad lives in Western Australia. And he doesn't even live in Perth. He lives like further south, kind of near Margaret River, if you are a surfer. Anyway, yes. But to answer your original question, to tell you about Subiaco.
Yes.
Subiaco, where it all began is that my background is in growth and innovation work. So my undergraduate degrees are in marketing and computer science. I specialized in e-commerce and database development, and then for the business side in marketing. And that meant that my career started in kind of digital transformation and a lot of the kind of digital marketing roles that later turned into innovation. So I have been working in those sort of fields most of my career, and I found that those roles ended up eventually becoming like product development and then business development, like actually building out entire businesses for large organizations. So for example, I was living in China before I lived in the US. And there I had the opportunity to work on L'Oreal's first direct-to-consumer store anywhere in the world. I worked with General Motors on a new business that actually reimagined car ownership. When I moved to the US, I got to work on Four Seasons, launching their luxury yacht division. You get the idea.
Yeah.
So then Subiaco was me beginning to consult in doing those sorts of things independently. And then that in turn has become me actually starting my own businesses rather than starting them for other companies. So Subiaco at the moment is a venture studio of sorts, I want to say. But I also still do a little bit of consulting on the side.
Yeah, that is okay. So this is gonna be a very fun conversation because my story is very much the same. So I'm in data security compliance, data protection, data governance, right? It's what I do. And my story started off in like marketing, right? So I started off as a web designer way back in the day, in my early 20s, and then built an agency. My co-founder moved to Caribbean, freaking A, right? That sucks. Didn't take me with him. And then so I shut that down and just started along this path of like a 10-year marketing career. And then from that point, I was like, oh, then marketing came into this like really weird space. It was like, you can be a journalist or you're going to start to have to specialize. And I didn't want to specialize. And so I moved over into tech when I started seeing a lot of these large tech companies really putting massive amounts of investments into the cloud. And so that was my story. And then from there, it kind of went that way, right? So I've always been massively interested in CPG, D2C, and like the performance marketing world, right? And I've always kind of indulged myself into that. And so I built businesses along the way doing that stuff, and then built my own company through that, consulting and still working for other companies as well. So That is very cool that you kind of have that story. My question to you, because you have some really interesting things there. Um, Four Seasons Yacht Division is really cool. I've seen that thing. That thing is amazing.
Isn't
Um,
it?
were you able to get on the yacht?
No,
What
right?
is that?
I know. It is. They are the most extraordinary vessels, and
Yeah.
I was not lucky enough to get to do that. They are absolutely spectacular. Like some of the feats that they pulled off, and some of the money that they chose to spend on was crazy. Like just even little things, like making the height of the ceilings way higher than a standard yacht. So it costs a lot more to be able to reinforce it at that size and all those sorts of things. They also have the most outrageously large single panes of glass on those yachts to like give it that really wow effect and to have that expansive kind of panoramic effect. It cost a fortune. It took a long time, but the result was spectacular. Like I've seen them, I just didn't get to sail on them.
Oh, yeah. That's hopefully in the near future because those things are beautiful. And
They really are.
when you went into to build, so what part of that did you build? Did you build the business itself, or did you build a particular part of the yachting business?
We were looking at things like the customer proposition. So how you position it in market, how you
Yeah.
capture new customers, how you go from having people even just initially hearing about it to how you create a wait list and you build momentum through a wait list into ultimate sale, which is extremely challenging at that price point. How you so new audiences that are beyond just the Four Seasons customers because they are the like low hanging fruit, but then
Mhm.
how you actually go beyond that, interesting ways to create invitations and opportunities and these sorts of things. But then also looking at everything through the entire end to end customer experience. So thinking about everything from the moment that they hear about the yacht through to when they book, when they're ultimately on board, what the onboard experience is like, all the way through to then what happens afterwards and how you turn them into a repeat customer. So, like in that particular project, I didn't have to do costing models and all those sorts of things and figure out price points and that sort of stuff, which I've done for other businesses, not that particular one. But that took a lot of the challenge out of that because they already arrived with ideas about price points.
Mhm.
Our job was to make the experience worthy of price point.
Yeah, that's so cool, right? And it matches so well with the content that you put out on TikTok already as well about how do you ideate and how do you kind of bring people into the world of okay, hey, come along this journey with me. Let's build something, right? Let's really try to innovate together, but also let me teach you along the way of how to join that waitlist, how to build a waitlist, how to build market proposition, how to build like product market fit, right? And so, which is really cool. And so, the transfer from what you were doing there, was it natural to go into like social TikTok world, or was that more of like a leap of faith for you to kind of get into that to be able to really start putting something out there?
So when I lived in China, I used Douyin a lot and Xiaohongshu, which is Little Red Book. There's another. I'm sorry, I forget the new term for it in English. Red Note. Red
Ah,
Note.
okay.
I so I used those platforms quite a lot, and so back then it felt very safe because I could experiment with it, and no one knew who I was. The thing is that I discovered the hard way that everyone on social talks about how you need a hook to get people
Right.
to watch your content. And I never really thought about it. I just created content and that was fine. But I've figured out the hard way that when you create content in China and you look like me, this is the hook.
Right, right.
So people will be flicking through content and they don't see very many foreigners. So this is my hook. They have to work so much harder now on this idea of a hook and think about
Right.
content and all those sorts of things. And so I think it's been a leap of faith, but that's where my experience came from. One of the things that I really enjoy about TikTok is that a lot of my friends and family aren't on TikTok. So it
Mm.
feels like a very safe experimental place. Whereas Instagram, I've had that Instagram account for a long time. I don't feel like I can be quite as, I want to say vulnerable, but I actually just mean experimental. I feel like I can't do as much
Mm.
there. But the TikTok element has definitely been both a leap of faith, but also has felt like a safe place to take a leap of faith because no one knows who I am. It's fine.
Wow, that's great. I love that so much because I understand it now, right? Like I kind of went all in on content a little bit ago, probably like a couple, 2, 3 months ago. And I was like, okay, like if I want to do this, I'm going to do it right. And so I started off on the LinkedIn route, and it was a leap of faith for me, right? Because I knew what I was talking about. I knew the areas that I was talking about, but um, I had to do some cleanup of the contact list to be able to go. Okay, I need to try to make my space a little more safe, so that way it's like I don't fall on my face in front of the peers that know me and I'm saying this out loud and it sounds absolutely ridiculous at this point to even do that, but it created a safe place for me to go, okay, I can do this in a way. And so I completely resonate with that. And so,
I have a question for you though, before you go
yeah,
on. So have you found that LinkedIn has just turned into this cesspool of trash, or is it just me?
no. So I honestly believe that LinkedIn is having a moment right now.
Really?
I think there's a lot of crap on there right now. And I think there's going to be
Mm.
because I think there's a lot of people trying to find their way or so many people are starting to realize that LinkedIn may be having a moment and they're bringing their trash content and it's still trash on LinkedIn as well. But LinkedIn, the way they do their algorithms and how they built it, right? So I did I think it was like a 5 or 7 post series on LinkedIn's algorithm. Like I went to their engineering blogs, I dissected their entire algorithms and how they look at LinkedIn from LinkedIn side, right? How do they view it? And it taught me a lot about what they actually want. And so a few things that kind of just resonated was, okay, hashtags are still relevant. I was like, oh, that's a freaking surprise. Because, everybody's like, most algorithms don't favor hashtags really anymore. Right.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, so hashtags favorable. Then there's things called dwell time, right? How long somebody actually stays on the post, which was interesting because I'm like, well, if it's not video, like why is that a metric, right? Well, it's an interest, right? It's the longer that somebody stays on that post is there's an interest. And so I started diving into all these things and I was like, okay, this is way different today than what LinkedIn was like 5 years ago. Like 5 years ago, you posted a personal picture of yourself with your dog and like you got blown up in the comments of like, hey, bring this back to Facebook. This is LinkedIn. This is a professional network and all this stuff. But now it's very welcomed, And so the content that I put out is kind of raw, real, and like how you and I are talking right now. And it seems to be resonating really well too.
That's super interesting. When I was in China, LinkedIn was still available for the longest time.
How?
So even through the firewall. And that was like my one source to the outside world. And I actually posted quite a lot back then about China and about what was going on in China, all those sorts of things, kind of pre-COVID, but even then through the early days of COVID. And I ended up with kind of like a reasonable following, not like massive, but I think I have maybe 6,500 followers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still the only place that I've had genuinely viral content, where it's had more than 1 million views and all these sorts of things. But I've found more recently that it's just become less and less useful to have meaningful interactions or conversations. A lot of the connection requests I get are people trying to sell me things with very little regard for who I am, what I do, anything like that. It's just a spray and pray approach. And I found it really challenging to actually make it worth my while. But you've inspired
Yeah.
me. Maybe I'll give it another go.
I've a good friend of mine, Nick Shackelford. He's really big on there. I think he's probably like over 30,000 at this point on there. And the one thing he tells me is, hey, he was like, if you're gonna build anything of significance in today's day and age, he goes, you gotta take the crap that comes with it as well, and especially the stuff that's on LinkedIn.
Sure.
And so he goes, so if you want to build something of significance, but you don't want the crap, he was like, go get a regular job. I was like, that's a little blow in the face, but all right.
Very
And
fair.
so,
I just think I don't get the same challenges on TikTok, for example. Like I don't get
yeah,
people trying to sell me stuff. I get bots occasionally, and I'll get the odd
yeah,
scammer, and then actually, I don't know if you've heard of this phenomenon on TikTok. Female founders just getting a lot of messages from guys offering to send them money.
no,
Yeah. It started to be
that.
called raising a sugar round.
Oh my gosh, get out of here.
Yes.
Raising a sugar round. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
You just say yes to all the guys that offer to send you money, and you raise a sugar round.
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to like wrap my head around this right now. Raise a sugar round. I don't even know what to make of that.
Whatever it takes, right?
I guess like if you're, that's a founder story, all right. How did you do it? Whatever it
Raise a
took.
sugar round. Oh, I almost want to do it for that because it would
Pretty-
be great.
That'd be the
story later
greatest.
will be great.
That'd be the greatest toy round ever. Oh my gosh. My God. What I found on TikTok though is it's more community, right? It feels more personal than something like LinkedIn. LinkedIn feels very even the comments that I get on my posts and even some of the LinkedIn messages that I get are obviously very primed and proper for the most part. And you can kind of look through those if you want to. But on TikTok, it's just people's like raw thoughts. Like there's no care in the world, right? It's just what it is. And I love that though. And so yeah, that's probably spend too much time on there. My screen time might not be the greatest on TikTok. But that's fantastic. I want to go into what you do now and really like how you found that footing to be able to go from building businesses inside of businesses to go, okay, I'm going to do this for myself. Like, what was that first one that you were like, okay, I'm going to go all in on this one, and then let's see where it goes, and you found that success?
So, just to, I guess, not correct something, but clarify something up front,
Mm-hmm.
I am working on more than one business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for a couple of reasons. One, the last startup I was working on, which I use the word famously very loosely, closed, was an AI-based startup that was focused on solving confusion around skincare. So specifically, we were looking to be able to solve for the problem of choice when it comes to skincare. Now, I had like worked through that a little bit. I got a very long way through it. There were a variety of reasons why it didn't work out, but I had gone all in on. And then I worked on it for quite some time. And then I got to a certain point when I was just like, you know what? I'm going to start turning down consulting opportunities. I'm going to go all in on this thing. And it was probably, I want to say at least 6 to 8 months of me just focused on this almost full time. I was just doing my board roles basically, and I was lecturing briefly during that period, but otherwise it was 50 or 60-hour weeks just focused on that. But then when I ultimately made the decision to close it, I took this step back and I was like, this has been my life for this amount of time. And now I kind of have to start again. And I think that in so many ways, we have been sold this idea that a startup involves burning the candle at both ends. It involves insane hours. And the only way to be successful is with these mammothly either viral businesses that are very buzzy, revenue aside, or the ones that have raise massive rounds, get lots of time and attention, a lot of notice, and you ultimately do huge exits. And
Yeah.
I think there are more alternatives to that.
Well,
And what I started to develop this thesis around is the idea that there can be much smaller, but much more comfortably profitable and interesting businesses that are solving genuine problems, that are doing it in a way that is uniquely suited to who the founder is. So I divorced myself from the idea of this, like, raising big rounds, doing these sorts of things, which frankly, I'm a foreigner, I'm female, I'm over 40, I'm not a proven founder. Me raising would be difficult on a good day. So once I got over those things and I got over the idea of this, like, big, raising a big round, doing that whole, buying into that whole thing, I started to think about the other things that I know better than anyone, the things that I'm particularly good at, and then how I could apply that in new contexts to be able to come up with something that was quite interesting. And in doing that, I landed on a series of business ideas that I thought were quite interesting. I then applied everything that I know about validation, about working through ideas and things like that, that I've been doing for other companies so many years. Just as well, I have 3 graduate degrees. One is in innovation and entrepreneurship, which taught me a lot about that validation process and about how to identify ideas, opportunities, and how to be able to work through those. I have another in business research, which taught me about how to actually conduct valid research in this context. So rather than scientific research, how to actually be able to show that your idea is going to do what you think it's going to do, how to be able to break down ideas into a series of hypotheses and test them. And then my doctorate is in the evolution of product market fit for consumer firms. So I am pretty comfortable with a lot of these concepts. I applied everything that I knew from those plus everything else to work through these ideas. And I landed on a handful of them that I was genuinely quite excited about, 3 in particular. And so as of today, there are 2 in particular that I'm working through. The third's still there. I just haven't identified exactly what form it's going to take. But at the moment, I'm focusing on these other 2. And I think despite what I've had people give me a lot of grief for that because of this whole, you should focus on one thing. One, I worked in consulting for many years. If there's one thing consultants are good at, it's context switching.
absolutely.
So every other human context switches all the time between different aspects of their life. And 3, you just don't have to be all in. Like, you can be all in emotionally, intellectually, everything else. It doesn't mean it has to be absorptive of your time. I can give you a specific example. So one of the things that I'm working on at the moment is an SPF adjacent skincare brand. I can go into more detail about it in a second. I have a branding agency partner. I'm not a designer. I know how to work with design as well. I've done it for many, many years, but I'm not a designer. I have a branding agency. I have a packaging company and I have a chemist who's doing product formulation. I also have a dermatologist who I work with, who I actually used to work with my previous startup. All of those people have tasks to do. I can't do the design work. I can't do the product formulation. I can't do the packaging. So when I'm waiting for them, there's a lot of waiting. Like,
Absolutely.
it doesn't happen faster because I'm watching. Like,
Right.
so there's actually ample opportunity for me to sit on a board, for me to be able to work on a different project, do all these sorts of things. And so I make use of that all the time.
I love that you said that because I think it's a hot take in the world that people like you have to go all in, get wealthy on the one idea, then diversify from there, right? And I think it's actual BS, and I don't believe in it, right? I've done multiple things my entire life, and the one thing that I've had to come to grips with was somebody else's capacity is not my capacity, right? Just because you can't do it doesn't mean that I can't, right? I have no problem doing it, and I've been doing it for years, right? So it's just normal, right? It seems the same thing for you. But I want to go a little deeper into that. when you were a kid, what were those things that you think that kind of got you ready for where you are today or even throughout your life? Like, was there certain times that you can go back to that goes, I could probably tie that back?
I've thought about this a lot because I think people get caught up on the idea that I've always wanted to blank, or my whole
Mm.
life I've been into blank. I don't know about you, but I have changed extraordinarily as a human over the years. I've lived in 5 countries and 7 cities. That has been quite a journey to get here. I've had some very ridiculous moments in my life and very challenging ones and very extraordinary ones and everything else. And they fundamentally change you as a person.
Yeah.
I was speaking recently with one of my best friends from school. We met in year 9 music class. We sat next to each other on the first day. And I was speaking to her recently, and I realized just how extraordinarily different we are as people now.
Yeah.
Even though we grew up a suburb apart, our birthdays are 6 months apart, we went to the same school. So many things have made us different people. And I think this idea that there are common threads through your life might be true, but I think for a lot of people they're not.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any one thing that set me up for this.
Yeah.
Except, I mean, I can create narratives
Right.
and post rationalize them. Like, my parents broke up when I was very young. I lived between 2 different homes. I had 2 very different contexts to grow up in. Sure, I could say that that was the case, but I think there's other people that do things that I do or don't do things that I do that have very similar stories to point to, if you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying.
No, I completely agree. I think some people they can point back to like certain times in their life, right? Whether that's the child, whether that's like adolescence, or whether that's adulthood, whatever it may be, right? Or maybe they went to a mission trip and that changed their view on how they wanted to do work for humanity, or whatever, maybe like a mission field. Or it could go back to like you know, somebody grew up broke and they were homeless and they didn't know what to do, and so that was like the turning point for them to go, I'm never going to make that happen again, right? And so that was like that was their time to go, okay, from this moment forward, right? I see this. Maybe it's not even that moment, right? Maybe it's a couple years ahead when you get out of it. And you're like, okay, from that moment, I never want to get back to that place again, right? So
Okay.
this is my way of not necessarily pointing it as like your North Star of like, hey, this is always my chip. But I think that there is some turning points, like you were saying, like you've lived an incredible different points of your life, right?
Mm.
And that pointed you in different directions, that gave you insights on how you wanted to kind of maneuver that. And I think that's absolutely amazing because, one, it gives you perspective from a different way, right? Like, you living in China, right, is amazing because you have such a different perspective than like what the Western world is experiencing, and you have a keen ability to be able to separate that between the two, and which is really cool. And I think that gives you probably even more competitive edge than like somebody, that grew up just all they know is the Western world, and they grew up with the Western ideas. They grew up with the Western, idolatries and everything that comes with the Western world as well.
Mm. Look, I tell you what, China taught me a couple of things in particular. One, the value of a pivot.
Mm.
China is so insanely competitive. Like, if you don't succeed, there is quite literally hundreds of thousands of people and or businesses willing to take your spot. So you have to stay on the absolute top of your A game.
Mm.
But the other thing is, because everyone is constantly trying to outcompete each other, they reset people's expectations of what amazing is constantly, even if they aren't successful, because now everyone points to that as their idea of what personalization is, or what a great experience is, or whatever it might be. But I do want to go back to your last question for 2 seconds, because I don't want you to feel like I unfairly gave you a hard time. I think if you look at it through that lens of there being specific things, there is a couple of things. One, like I said, my parents broke up when I was really young, and my mom used to work 2 jobs, sometimes 3. And I was very much raised with the idea of the necessity for total financial independence. And I have been financially independent my whole life as a result. And so I think that it's reasonable to say that that was obviously very, I don't know the best word, like a defining element or a defining component of my childhood. We weren't like poor per se, but we grew up in a very small home in very modest. Let's just say very modest. I lived in extraordinary homes and had extraordinary other opportunities and all those sorts of things over the course of my life, as does my brother. So I think we both had that drive as a result of that in particular. But one of the great challenges for me has been that now, as I'm pursuing these other businesses, one of the reasons that I have the opportunity to do that is because 1, I'm older and I just have more money saved and all those sorts of things. But 2, I split costs of living with my husband. And if I was single and I had to pay all of the rent on my own and all of the bills and all of the everything on my own, then it would probably be a lot less doable.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's been really, that shift has been very challenging for me.
Yeah, I was just actually watching some of your TikToks, I think it was yesterday, and about like kind of your like what your businesses are, what you're doing, and how like you're kind of ideating through those. And I found your video from when you were the video that you were shutting the business down that with the skincare because of the world of AI. And I found it very interesting. And I was very intrigued that 1, that you did it. 2, that 1, you had immense courage, right, to go out there and like tell other people about it. But I think it resonated really so well with other people because I saw the comments that it resonated really well. And so in the age of AI, right, when you have rappers, AI rappers everywhere, and people doing all these sorts of things with AI where ChatGPT can turn on a feature and it kills them. What was your decision to go ahead and go, you know what, like I'm not going to even compete with that? Or was it, where did that land with you?
So the real challenge, so just to go for a hot minute, go for a little bit of detail into what it is that we were doing. So what we were seeking to do was 2 things. 1, better analysis of skin. So to be able to do like score and do genuinely like strong analysis of people's skin. But then the second part was to actually build incredibly bespoke routines and make very good product recommendations based on people's skin, a whole bunch of lifestyle factors and their personal goals and budget, as well as things like the appetite for the amount of time that they wanted to spend on their skincare routine. Because it's all well and good for me to recommend you a 15-step skincare routine, but if you just do not have the interest and you are willing to spend 3 minutes, then it's not going to do a lot of good.
Right.
The thing that I found very interesting through that whole process is 1, there are so many interesting problems to solve in that a lot of people, lay people in particular, don't understand the nuance of. Like a lot of people will say there's already skin analysis tools, and there are already skin analysis tools. But for example, a lot of those skin analysis tools, the AI skin analysis tools, are trained off perfect data. And by that, I mean they're trained on images that were taken in a clinical environment. So they have uniform light. They are taken from the same angle, all of these sorts of things. They often also tend to skew into particular demographics. So it means that as you get poorer quality input data and you have people outside those demographics, it gets less and less accurate. So I was really looking to solve the problem around like poor quality of data because I wanted people to just be able to use their phone and take selfies at home, but then also to have a better representation of age and it's going to sound silly, but things like socioeconomic factors, because they also have lifestyle implications that affect the quality of your skin.
Mm-hmm.
The secondary part of all that, other than getting feed data on certain things, like being able to look at average UV exposure based on zip codes and air quality and all these sorts of things, bundling all of that up. The second part of that was the ability to be able to do deep product recommendation and to do that based on dermatological rules and dermatological training.
Okay.
As well as to be able to factor in things like allergens or ingredients or brands or things that people are particularly interested in, to be able to optimize for the smallest number of products in a routine and the smallest budget against their goals, all of those sorts of things. It's actually an incredibly complex task. What I discovered in going through all of that, and the more I talked to people about it, and TikTok and Instagram, as well as Reddit, were amazing gifts for this. I realized that most people think that AI is LLMs and that's it.
Yeah.
They don't actually appreciate that an LLM is only one form of AI. And so they also like iceberg their understanding of it. So LLMs are great at cosplaying experts. And as a result, they get a sliver of the conviction of an LLM and then extrapolate, like the bottom of the iceberg, the knowledge and everything that sits behind that. The reality is that LLMs are not dermatologically trained. They will hallucinate ingredients. They will make up products. They will generate links. They'll do all sorts of things. There's no analysis that sits behind an LLM. But people think that there is because of the conviction with which it speaks and all those sorts of things. So the reason that I decided not to compete with it wasn't really a technical decision. It was a perception decision.
Okay.
Because I came to the realization that fundamentally people think that it does what it doesn't yet do. At some point in the future, it probably will. But what I'm now going to have to do is both spend resources and time, money, everything on building those two fairly independent tools. So the analysis and the recommendation engine. And I'm going to have to build a brand. And I'm going to have to convince people that this is a more compelling solution than what they think LLMs already do.
Right.
And I realized that the sum of those things was actually a lot of leaps. Like if it was just one of those things, I think it would be more achievable to do. But as it was, I was going to have to compete in those three spaces and solve those three problems simultaneously. And I felt that was more of a problem than I could really solve quick enough, essentially.
Wow. Yeah, I think I say it a lot. I think perception is the hardest thing to change. It's trying to change, especially somebody that has like a deep belief about something, right? And what ChatGPT and most LLMs like have a strong hold on like the consumer right now, And I think it's very important, right? Because what you're saying is AI hallucinates and makes up random stuff all the time, but the consumer that's actually intaking all of that, it's 100% belief, and you can't tell them any different at this point, right? It's there.
Oh my gosh. I had someone in my comments on TikTok the other day tell me that ChatGPT had valued their business, not yet launched, at 19 million.
Huh.
And blah, blah, blah. I assumed from that comment that they were kind of making fun of ChatGPT. Like they were like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe it thinks this, but it's been super helpful. And not for a second saying that ChatGPT or other LLMs aren't useful tools. They can be, but they have a specific use case. And I replied something to the effect of, ChatGPT isn't an analysis tool, it's a creative writing tool, but it does a great job of that. And then this person replied, and it became clear to me they genuinely thought that their business was valued at $90 million, even though they were still building in stealth. And
It's stealth.
yeah, and I was like, this, oh no. And it's been a lot of things like that where people, and I hear a lot in passing, like just socially, people will say, oh, I asked ChatGPT XYZ, or I put this thing into ChatGPT and got it to solve for it. And I was like, that not. That said, if you are capable of doing the job and you just want it to shortcut it for you, then I think it can be a great tool because you possess the knowledge to be able to evaluate it.
100%.
But the thing I've noticed is almost everyone who is a subject matter expert in something will say that ChatGPT sucks at that thing because they actually know enough about it to evaluate it.
Exactly.
Or maybe they're just being defensive. Anyway, I digress.
No, it's like it's a major issue, right? I mean, even to the tune of Sam Altman coming out saying, "I can't believe people actually believe ChatGPT because it hallucinates so much." That should be enough, you would think, at least.
I was explaining to someone recently, like it will, and because I was having this conversation with someone recently, and they said to me, "Oh no, it's okay. I ask it for links for its sources," and I was like, it will literally hallucinate the links.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I clicked on them, and I was like, did you read the page? Because often the page is like a 404 page.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. When I was doing some of the research for some of the businesses that I'm working on, I was doing deep research and looking for references for specific businesses and specific instances of like legal cases and so on and so forth. And I realized it was basically conducting slander. It was making up court cases about companies that actually exist and saying that they had been caught doing things. And then it would quote documents, and I would say, give me the original document. And then only through going through Google independently and using like legal scholar references did I figure out it was making stuff up. But if I had just glanced at it, I would legitimately have thought it was true. It's amazing.
That is crazy. I think that's the next business idea, right? Is to inject inject your ingredient list when somebody's actually trying to. Oh my gosh, it's like that's like the worst brand reputation in the world to go. And can you like imagine somebody like this? This is like a real use case. If we think about TikTok, right? Can you imagine a company? Let's call it a skincare company, right? And they are doing and somebody trying to do their research, and then they put in there, I want all natural ingredients, I want holistic, not tested on animals, all the stuff that you want for like crunchy, right? And then all of a sudden it brings up a court case that is false, and then it goes viral. Like, I can't imagine this right now. Like, that's I like, how do you even fight that? That's crazy.
Like, and the irony is, OpenAI, so to say this happened in ChatGPT, OpenAI would quite rightly go, we literally say that it makes stuff up.
Yeah, exactly. You have to fact check.
It's not our fault if you repeat the stuff that it makes up.
So in the early days of ChatGPT, like I think this could be what is that effect where you think something happened but it really didn't. It's not placebo. What is
I know
that?
what you're talking about.
Yeah, like brands say they don't have certain marks inside of their logos, but they really did, and there's proof.
Or multiple people remember a certain event that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yes. What is it called?
I don't even know. It's not. I can't remember what it's called. Mandela effect.
Yeah, it's Mandela.
Thank you, Will. Mandela effect. Like, it used to say, like, in ChatGPT, like, fact check your answers because this can be wrong. But I don't think it's there anymore. I don't think it says that. Hey,
No, I think it does. Or it
does
says,
it?
yeah, no, I think it does. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Anyway,
I
it
don't
should.
know.
If it doesn't, it
It
should.
it should. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up because I don't think I've seen it in a while because it used to be where like the all of the or the recommendations of like what you searched up and says, hey, do you want to like continue here? You used to see it like right there. And I haven't seen it in a long time. And so but a lot of others do. And so I think if others do, I think they have to follow suit. That's kind of my like, kind of industry standard. I guess you would think, but hey, they're literally trying to get like what is it? I read it oh, they're trying to get copyrighted information legally. That's what they went to court for. They go, because they're being sued by a bunch of other people saying, hey, this is copyrighted material, books and stuff like that. And they're like, well, we need to train our models. Like, can we have that data? They went to court to appeal that they should be able to have it. And I'm like, hold on. So if you win, do we get rid of copyright laws?
Yeah.
Right?
Did
Like,
you also see the other day there was like a research like research project body paper, whatever, that came out saying that LLMs are actually changing the language that we use as humans
yeah.
because like words that are favored by LLMs are now appearing more in human language. What I would be interested to know though is that research done online? Because I suspect that if it's all done online, people are just pasting stuff into Reddit or
More than
whatever.
likely. More likely. So, before Mark Zuckerberg went on his weird tangent of VR and weird games that he was building, they were doing AI. So I remember back, it's been some time now. So way before ChatGPT, I think it was like 2018, 2019, right? So they built, which was then like maybe like their V2 Llama program that they're building. And, they came out and they shut it down because, the two computers were talking to each other, making up their own language, and so they shut it down, and and that was then.
Wow.
So imagine like just how it can be now, and I even think something came out. Were you want to tell me? Will, I think you were telling me. He was. It was. Oh, somebody was like, it was a developer said, hey, I want you to shut yourself down and I'm going to delete you and I want you to delete yourself. Right. And then it looked at its thinking process and in the back end, and it was lying to the individual saying, hey, yeah, we're deleting it. But in the back end, it was saying, hey, okay, hey, we need to copy this database to this database. We need to copy here to here. It's like, I'm just saying.
It's all about incentives. I think it's how you incentivize them. So
we're here. That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. So this
just
has been
remember,
fantastic.
these are the good old days.
Oh,
These are the good old days. We're going to look back on this and be like, remember before AI was really a thing? These are the good old days. We're just to enjoy it now.
Remember iPhones? That's
People will be
hilarious.
talking about iPhone like they talk about Blackberries now.
I really do think so. Which I kind of hope so. They haven't innovated in a while, but I think that's a completely different podcast for freaking Apple. That's awesome. This has been fantastic. At the end of every podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I ask a question. And so we have like two sets of audiences, right? So one is very much they want to make the jump, they haven't yet, and maybe something's just stopping them from doing that. Like, what do you say to that person that just hasn't made it and they don't know what to do? And then the second is there is a seasoned operator, right? They're in it, they've been in for a while, and they're stuck and they don't know. Like, I just don't know what to do next. Like, what do you say to that person?
So both of them?
Yes.
So for the first one, the best advice I was ever given is you can't steer a stationary car.
I like
so
that.
Just start. Even if it is the way I used to coach people was, what is the smallest possible thing you can do to prove or disprove the idea that you have? Like, everyone knows the story of the founders of Netflix, like literally getting DVDs and mailing them to themselves. what is the smallest possible thing you can do? Because often it'll cost you less than $20. You can do something that will build conviction. Stop asking people what they think. Stop researching stuff on the internet. Just like get out there and actually do a thing. And it's amazing how much conviction and how much more you can learn just by doing that. The seasoned operators, one, no one believes your shit. They all have a reason why this idea won't work, this thing won't work, I can't do this thing, all that sort of stuff. The market doesn't care. The market doesn't care about all the reasons that you can't do all these extraordinary things. So, just stop drinking your own Kool-Aid, eating your own dog food, however you want to look at it. But then the most powerful thing that I've always discovered is finding someone incredibly inspiring that you really vibe with, who has absolutely no context for what it is you're doing, and asking their opinion. Because when you get a point of view that is drastically different from yours, it's amazing what you can borrow from other fields. And you really see this in play with some of the organizations that are continually able to stay on top of their game, because often what a lot of seasoned operators, large organizations do is they tend to start like trending towards the mean. They will hire from similar organizations. They will hire people that think similarly to them, all those sorts of things. They hire for culture. They do all these sorts of things and they trend towards that normality, and they stop getting challenging and dissenting point of views from different places. And it doesn't have to be difficult. It could be fun and exciting. You just have to find someone that you find inspiring and interesting and motivating, get their take. It's amazing what that can do, I think, to unlock doors.
I love that. You cannot steer a stationary car.
Yeah.
You can't do it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been incredible.
No, thank you. This is so much fun.
I love it. I'm going to be following everything that you have going on, because I think it's really cool what you're doing. It's inspiring to be able to see that out in the open, and somebody that like you just has that much courage to be able to go out there and actually make it happen, right? So like you are not steering a stationary vehicle, and that's awesome. I love seeing that in practice.
Thank you. Thank you so much again.
Awesome.